Hello everyone. In this video we are going to look at feeding programs in emergencies. The feeding programs aim at fortification of the foods by adding micronutrients to foods, for example iodized salt, and also by consuming or distributing fortified blended foods. The fortified blended foods can have a composition of flour composed of pre-cooked cereals plus a protein source, mostly legumes such as beans, and this is also fortified with vitamins and minerals. For example, the corn soy blend, the wheat soy blend, and plant peanuts. The implementation of general food ration distribution. What are the major factors for success? Adequate planning and good logistic organization. Registration of refugees by issuing ration cards, and this is done by UNHCR. The distribution system has to ensure equity and representativeness. For example, the head of the family should be registered in each family so that every family can be able to receive their rations. Good organization, offering regular distributions according to the planned timeline. Well-planned sites. Political willingness. People have to be ready to donate for the success of the programs. Regular monitoring of the rations so that they don't get wasted. Clear definition of the agreed responsibilities of the partners with effective coordination. So these are some of the success factors that are required for success of a general food ration distribution program. However, there are some challenges that can be encountered in the process of service delivery. For example, gaps in food supply due to lack of funds, insufficient supplies, and poor management. Food losses can also occur during transport, warehousing, distribution, the storage of large amounts of food, and also the presence of security problems. Inadequate nutrient content of the ration in terms of the long-term programs. Food diversion can be done by households exchanging the foods for non-food items or complementary food items. And also by powerful groups. Some powerful groups can cause inequities in access due to insecurities, and this is a detrimental effect. Poor organization of distribution and logistical problems leads to poor security, or due to poor security too. Lack of coordination among partners supplying all items regularly, and also problems with the food preparation. Lack of cooking utensils or fuel, and also lack of knowledge to prepare items distributed. So all these problems make it hard for the programs to be implemented successfully. Alternatives to general food distribution. We have some opportunities for refugees to acquire food by themselves, for example through cash distribution, distribution of food items with high economic value and low demand, and also income generating program support for individual efforts to grow foodstuffs. Food for work programs and mass preparation of cooked meals. This is in rare situations of great insecurity, and it's a temporary solution and requires heavy logistical support. And this is also as a result of negative psychosocial consequences to the population. Supplementary feeding programs are not supposed to be a substitute for inadequate ration generations. So the extra ration provided must be additional to and not a substitute for the generation. It is based on the prevalence of malnutrition and also the aggravating factors. A high malnutrition rate, a high prevalence of infection and generation below minimum requirements can increase the prevalence of malnutrition. How do we identify those that are eligible? House-to-house visits. Screen all the children under 5, the elderly, the malnourished and ill. Mass screening of all children. Screening on arrival upon registration, and also referrals by community or health services. Supplementary feeding programs can be offered in terms of wet rations and dry rations. The wet rations provide about 500 to 700 kilocalories. They are prepared in the feeding center kitchen and consumed on site twice a day. The beneficiary in this case has to come for meals to the feeding center every day. And this is a substitute for a regular meal at home. The dry rations contain about 1,000 to 1,200 kilocalories, high protein source and high energy source, and it is a pre-mixed cereal or blended food as base, for example, plum peanuts. It is usually taken home for preparation and consumption. The rations are distributed once weekly, and this is a better preferred method because it is easier to organize, requires less staff to implement, there is lower risk of transmission and also lower risk of infection. And it also requires less time for mothers to prepare. Preserves family life and also the food is shared so that everyone can receive. For example, in terms of CSB and WSB. We also have therapeutic feeding programs on site in terms of wet feeding, such as the therapeutic milk F75 and F100. Then intensive medical care for children with infections and dehydration and medical complications. Psychological stimulation is also offered during the rehabilitation phase of the therapeutic feeding program. These feeds provide about 150 kilocalories per kilogram per day and 3 to 4 grams of protein per kilogram per day. So in the first phase, intensive in the stabilization and transition, we find that the children have to take at least 8 to 10 meals per 24 hours, and this lasts for 1 week. After which, upon improvement, child is transferred to phase 2, that is the rehabilitation. And here they take about 4 to 6 meals in 24 hours. The nutrient deficiencies in times of emergencies, such as vitamin A, xerophthalmia. This is caused due to low content in the general food ration and poor health and nutrition status, and also measles. Vitamin B1, beriberi, lack of thiamine. This ration is usually based on polished rice, which does not provide enough vitamin B1. Vitamin B2 and riboflavinosis. The ration is based on cereal flour that is not fortified with vitamin B2, and this will cause a deficiency of vitamin B2. Vitamin B3, pellagra, and B3 is also called niacin. This ration is usually based on maize with limited amounts of groundnuts, fish, and meat, and so the diet is deficient in vitamin B12. B3. Vitamin C, scurvy. This occurs mainly in semi-desert areas with limited provision of animal products, such as milk, fresh fruits, and vegetables. Iron. The deficiency here is iron deficiency anemia, and this is due to a ration that is limited in meat content. Iodine deficiency, goiter or cretinism. Populations living in areas with low iodine soil content and with no iodine salt fortification of food, they are very high risk of iodine deficiency. How do we prevent these deficiencies? By provision of good surveillance systems, quality monitoring of the general food ration distribution, early detection of cases in refugee populations and clear case definitions, prompt implementation of treatment and preventive measures, and we have to ensure food diversification. We give varied items and fresh foods. Food fortification and provision of fortified blended foods such as CSP and WSP. Then vitamin and mineral supplementation. You can supplement vitamin A, iron, folate, and iodine. For vitamin A, you have to make sure you estimate the amount of vitamin A that is present in the general food ration so that the diet can provide enough of vitamin A. The food items with high vitamin A content in the local market, you have to encourage the local population to go and purchase these items. Record the cases of xerophthalmia and report to the health agency. And it's important to treat all the clinical cases immediately. Prevention in the emergency phase, this can be done by supplementation, mass distribution for children 6 months to 59 months, and also measles immunization. Breastfeeding is the best source of vitamin A for infants less than 6 months of age, and these infants are not given supplements. Post-emergency mass distribution of vitamin A for every 4 to 6 months if the less than 50% of RDA in the ration. Then drug supplementation. This is not offered for pregnant and infants less than 6 months. Food fortification plus food diversification is the best solution. Provide some foods that are rich in vitamin A, such as red palm oil, fresh fruits and vegetables. You have to be very careful when preparing vitamin A-rich foods because they are quickly destroyed by heat. Vitamin C. Here the RDA should be greater than 15 milligrams per day. To prevent, we have to make sure there is clear case definition and routine surveillance. Preventive measures, drug supplementation can be given to the vulnerable groups and also food fortification. Vitamin C is viable to destruction by heat and blended foods. Food diversification, you have to provide other food items that contain vitamin C, such as fresh fruits, vegetables, and milk. An outbreak may require daily mass vitamin C drug distribution, weekly or even bi-weekly. For minerals, iron deficiency anemia, how can we be able to prevent this? This is the most prevalent nutrient deficiency and is also associated with folate deficiency. Malaria and hookworms exacerbate the nutrition anemia. The prevention intervention in form of supplementation of iron and folate to the high-risk groups, the pregnant and lactating women, and also moderately malnourished. Then fortification, the blended foods contain folate and iron, CSB, CSM. Then diversification by provision of meat to the general food rations. Iodine deficiency. 30% of world's population lives in iodine-deficient environments, and goitrogens are present in the local diet. For example, thiocyanate in cassava. So this increases the cases of goiter, and the iodine deficiency is underreported. In post-emergency phase assessments, the national control programs have to be involved. The iodine prevalence in the population has to be identified, and also you can identify goiter by clinical examination of school children that is less than 5%, provides for at least less than 5% of the screened. And also you can carry out urinary iodine analysis to test the presence of iodine deficiency. Availability of iodine in the seafood or iodized salt, so you can be able to provide these as part of the rations. Fortify the foods with salt. The presence of goitrogens in the local market make matters worse. Interventions here, iodized oil can be administered periodically to vulnerable groups. The iodization of salt is the safest and cheapest solution. So basically, these are some of the aspects we have. You have to make sure that you prevent these deficiencies by providing enough of these minerals and vitamins in the food rations. Thank you.